Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. It is a kind of a brisk, chilly January 16th up here in Minnesota, but I'm happy to be home. But last week I got to go to Phoenix and see Michael, which was great. How are you
Yep,
doing today, buddy?
doing great. We're starting to warm up out here. You brought the cold with you. We did a little internal team building after work one day and it was freezing. So I'm excited to get warm. I was excited to see you, have some chat, good reconnecting. It's always good to see folks in person. So excited. With that, today you have an announcement. Let's do housekeeping, and then I'll roll this back over to you. But just so everyone's aware, MCR changed from Zoom to Teams. So unfortunately, I know Shelton, you were saying you had a hard time. We apologize. Stay up to date in the LinkedIn chat. Doug, I saw you posted in there about some topics. We'll touch bases at some point with you and talk about some advanced flows. But we moved to Teams. You do have to register for every single event. If you do not want to register for every single event, that's okay. Just stay on LinkedIn around 7:25 my time, MST, or 7:20, just depends. I'll copy the link and post it in there, and you can click it and join that way, or go through and register for every event that you would like to attend. We have changed our sequence. There will be limited espresso yourselves, and we'll announce those. But typically, we are going back to our workflow of talking about Bluebeam Revu with some sprinkled in talking about advancements and where we're going within the industry, like we talked about with ACC. So stay tuned for things where we'll venture out past the Bluebeam realm, but more in the vein of how we can collaborate within the industry. Just some housekeeping rules for those. Feel free to use the chat, use GIFs. We love it. And stay connected. And as always, feel free to bring up any questions you have outside of the related topic. This is built around you, the community. So feel free if you do have any lingering questions from the week or the week prior about Bluebeam and workflows, feel free to share and ask away, because that's what this is built for.
Exactly.
And over to you, unless you have anything to add to that specific vein.
Just on the housekeeping vein, nothing that coming down the pipe as far as deadlines with Bluebeam. I know there was a price increase a couple of weeks ago to start the year for those renewing on the subscription model, which we all knew about. On the Autodesk side of things, just mentioning it, January or February 7th is going to be a pretty big price increase again. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah, big surprise there. So if you've got a renewal coming up, like,
do you count that as inflation?
I don't know what to call that, but if you've got a renewal coming up for your Autodesk stuff, like maybe try to get it ahead of February 7th, because it's probably going to save you. It's like 7% So it's kind of a big deal. So thought I'd mention it just on the vein of housekeeping. I know we're trying to keep things more Bluebeam over here, but a lot of you use the same stuff, and we want to keep you informed. Today we're going to be talking about digital signatures. We're going to test some stuff. Might send some stuff back and forth and see if we can break it, because there's a lot of confusion around that. But before we get started, I need everybody here to just give me some positive vibes and put positive vibes and healing energy out into the world. One of our own, part of our community, was recently diagnosed sick, and we want to send some healing vibes their way. Let them know we're thinking of them. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start signing some stuff. Now, this is something that comes up a lot, right? We're looking at how can we leverage Bluebeam Revu in a different way and not have to use DocuSign or some of the other different options there are out there for digital signatures. And there's a whole bunch of configuration that can be done inside of the Bluebeam Revu space, and it can be confusing. So we're hoping to demystify that. We're hoping to show you the pros and cons of the different methods and set up the actual workflow that you might want to use for digital signatures. So I say that because I haven't even prepped with Michael. Like, you're going to cover this, right? Because I don't have anything.
Yeah. we'll also go through and talk about certifying documents. So that's one thing as well. The ability to go through and check for certifications and how to send those. And then we'll talk about Windows certificates as well, but that's not going to be on us. That's going to be you absorbing those Windows-based certificates. But how can you share those with amongst your company to validate signatures that have been used within Bluebeam as well? because that's a big ticket item too. How do we import someone else's valid signature validation so that when we see it, it's still a green check versus the yellow or red check. So I'll bring that up from Bluebeam as well as we kind of enter into that. But we'll first and foremost start about signatures, how we can go through and sign and all of those items. Let me also bring up real quick. I think it's in every tier now due to basic being more of an admin. But let me just go through into here, make sure. Track all digital signatures and certificates. Yeah, so we'll bring this up. I'll share my screen here. We'll go over to here. This is just a pricing sheet. As you remember, pricing increase happened to, I'm assuming it was just you buying new, which is, this is the price. I don't think these went up. Did these go up?
No.
No,
Nope.
Same price. Okay. But scrolling on down, and by the way, I've done a comparison about if you're new to Bluebeam, what the different tiers do. So if you would like a link, just let me know and we'll post it in here. But then when I scroll down to security and digital signatures, it's part of every tier. So basic, core, complete. That now allows you to go through and add signature fields, require certified digital IDs, track all digital signatures. The only thing I think that is different is, let me Control F this, batch, sign. Yeah, so the batch, sign, and seal is still part of this complete tier. And that is the ability to add a stamp and sign each page versus an area. So we'll go through and talk a little bit about that as well. So I'm going to open up Review 21 here, and then we'll jump right into this. I'll bring you all over here in case folks want to use the chat. You can all look at yourselves real quick. We'll just URL.
And then we can make fun of Michael for not updating again.
I literally it's imprinted in my brain. Remind me later. So, I'm pretty sure some of us are like that as well. But let's hop on in. So if we wanted to go through, and I'll just go and grab something from a template here, and I think it was like fax form had a sign area. Which one of these?
Wasn't it the field report? Or RFI that would have one too, or submittal would.
That's what it is. It's an RFI form. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So this one already has a field, and I probably wouldn't have done it in that range just because it's going to shrink it. So you do have the option, if ones have already been created, to go through and look at your forms area, and you can see there's a signature right here, and you can delete it. So even though you've placed things and you don't know how to go through and edit them, if you click your forms panel, so for those people that are new to review, there are panel access bar here, and I'm in, again, we talked about this last time, profile, review, advanced. So review works off profiles. If I switch this, I have a different user interface, advanced. For those folks tuning in, maybe on the tube later, if you go through and look at there, then you go and touch this panel here. And this panel is the forms panel. If you do not see it, you say show, and you'll see forms and Alt plus Q, and I just deleted the signature. So you can always go through and create your own signature field by going to tools, and then from here you can go to signature and you can say sign document, or you can add a certain signature field another way, but I'm going to add a larger area here. And then you can just cancel out of here, and then now you have your signature field and sending this to someone to sign, right? Someone that has the ability to go through and sign, you have that option to click here and now sign a document. So this is where we're going to go through and talk about creating IDs. And I don't have any on this one because if you all remember, my desktop went down, so I didn't move any of this information over. So we have a new fresh look at going through and creating these as well. So there's a couple of different ways to go through and sign a document. You can just sign it with your signature, or you can certify your document. And that's what we were talking about earlier, about that ability to go through and utilize this area down here, which is that certified digital IDs. And how do we share these to make sure that they are showing up appropriately and I'll go through here and just do a quick search of digital signatures. Bluebeam.
DigiCert. I haven't heard of that one, David.
There's like icon colors and stuff. So if you go and certifying, I'm just trying to look and see. Because I know they had them spelt out somewhere, validating signatures. There it is. So here it is. So we'll post this into here.
And that is from review 2019, but
It's the
really
same.
anything.
Yeah. So you have your different color coding of what can happen when something is signed. So sent to somebody and they're looking at it. What do these mean? So the green with the check means the signer identified it as a trusted and the document has not changed and the signature is valid. This is where you would need to share that digital certificate with your teammates, and how do you export that out and share it with other folks so that when they are going through and doing that, they are able to see it. Because if not, you'll get this, right? The signer's identity is unknown. If the signer identity is unknown, see about importing the trusted identity here. So if I click new tab, hey, how do we go through an import? You can go into here. So you can go to tools, signatures, and we'll talk about this workflow, right? So if you get this little, I don't know, it's like a, what do you call those old pin
like a
things?
ribbon.
Yeah, it reminds me of
like
4-H.
yeah, a little
Yeah.
placement ribbon.
You can go through and that's the reason there. So then the next one is a question mark. So the signature has not been validated and the document has not been updated since the sign. The signature is valid, but the document has been updated since being signed. So there's just a bunch of things as you go through to here. I'm not going to read through all this and bore you with reading text that's out there. So going back into here, digital ID. So when you're going through and signing something via the web, you create a digital signature. The great thing about Bluebeam is that it is locked by a password. So how do I go through and create one? We will do a new one because I'm going to create an ID, not a Windows certificate. I'm going to create an ID here with a file, and I'm going to name it signed big. So this will be me actually signing it with a PDF copy. I think I have it somewhere, hopefully. There's a hope there. That I just like scribbled my signature that looks terrible. So most of you have a wonderful signature, and we all know that I don't. So we'll go back and see it again. Organizational unit, if you want to put this here, I'll just put ATG, organization name, applied technology, email address. And then region, this is the keyed algorithm. I don't know the difference. Maybe someone does, 1024-bit RSA. Have no idea what this means.
David says use the 2048.
Okay.
It's got twice as many bits.
Okay.
I don't know the actual reason, but
what does that mean? We'll wait for David's reply.
It's harder to decrypt, is what he says.
Okay.
Thanks.
Because it has double the amount of bits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Password. And then this is where it's saving it. And I'm going to hit OK. Oh, must be 5. Okay. Now, this is the digital standard text. So options, reason, I'm approving this document. I am the author of this document. I'm just going to put I'm approving. Location, this is specific to this specific signature if you wanted to add this one. But I'm also not going to use the digital signature that has this information, which is all the information that it's going through. I'm going to do new because I don't want to use the out-of-the-box Bluebeam signature ID. And I'm going to use a file location that does not have any of this information given. I wish there was a select all. Okay, so I'm going to go through to my desktop. and try to know myself. And see where I put my signature. Probably should have created one before.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsies. Logos, not my BCSR. Log. Okay. So we'll go, maybe it's in MCR. Okay, so I don't have one. So what we'll do is we'll go and just hit OK for now. Oh, okay, there we go. Must be unique. And we'll come back because I need to go through and create one. So I'm going to save this just to here because it was signed, but I'm going to go through and we'll do an image of my signature. So perfect. Perfect. I give myself an A.
Writing some prescriptions there, Doc.
Yes, sir. And you can do it where you're like signing it, scanning it, so you have the image.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably
a chat that you can change the appearance of a signature using a word illustrator. Just trace your signature and make it transparent, so a PNG file.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
That would allow that overlay, you know, where it would not have like a white background.
I didn't think about that. Okay, so well, it's because it's saved. Don't go and do file. Well, we'll also go through to here and look at visual IDs. So now I can come in here, not to standard text, but manage this file location and not use the name. Perfect. And then you can do like alignment, one in the center. Hit OK. Hit OK. Hit OK. Okay. So now we can go into here and go back into our R5. When I come back into here, there's my signature. It's going to ask me, where do I want to save this? Delete. And this is the reason why I don't like and why I deleted at the beginning the area that it was, is because of that reason. But coming back into here, you still have your forms, but you have this option to go and look at your signatures, and you can see that it's validated. So if I were to send this to Jason, he doesn't have mine, so he's going to get this ribbon with a yellow ribbon with a human here because his doesn't have my imported trusted identities, and he needs that in order for him to go through and actually see that it is green with a check. It's signed, but it's not a trusted identity, so he's not going to have a full green check. So this would be if you're sending it to somebody and you're worried about something being changed or modified, and you want to have your checks and balances when you're sending things out to clients, and they may not need to have it as a green check, but if they change or modify it in any way, you will then be made aware when you reopen that document, right? So that is the question in there is if I see it back in my hands, is it still going to be validated or not? Right, regardless, you may want to send yours with them just so they have it if they want to see on their end too. But for your end, at least when you're receiving it back, even if they opened it and then sent it back to you, you will still get a green check unless they modified it in some way. Then you'll come down here and you'll see where it says it's been updated, right? It's been valid, but the document has been updated since signed. You'll get the exclamation point, and the exclamation point then also has a revision. It tracks it, so it actually creates
a copy within itself saved. So when you get it back, you can see a revision, and I'll update it and show you those sequences as well. But before I start, is there any questions that you saw in the chat, or we're good?
Nothing in the chat. No, but there's some discussion about different tricks to get your signature into Revu.
Yeah, I just did a snapshot real quick. What are some other ones that we want to show people?
So from there was talk about using the snapshot tool. Brian added using Bluebeam to do it. Scan your signature, then use a transparent color in Revu to remove the background. Doug says embed a scanned signature as the photo. That would also work. Bruce is saying scan, make it transparent, then make it a stamp, and then just flatten it when you send it out. So there's a few different ways that you can go about it. Brian says there's a mask color. It's pretty slick, and he can show it if you like. So we'll see where we're at on time.
I just use graphic file. I mean, you can only pull graphic files. I don't know what that means. Is Justin still here, Roberts? I saw him jump in.
I don't know.
I think he jumped out.
Graphic files is probably
I don't know
for JPEG and PNG and things like that.
I don't know what this means. It would be nice if they would just tell me. But okay. So going back into here again, so how do we export these out? So if you go to your signatures, you have the options of digital IDs. And then this option here, you also have the ability to export this. This is what you would send to somebody, and it sends it as a .cer. And you can send that to somebody so that they can then come in here and import them as well. So you can go through and browse and add an existing file to import those as well. What Bluebeam's other route is just going and trusted manage. So you just go to trusted identities, and that's the other one. So if you go to tools, signatures, trusted identities, and you can add one here. So a .cer as well. So if you wanted to add a trusted identity, this is one way so that you have these different checks and balances for when you're receiving older or newer documents that people are updating and sending to you. This was a question from one of our clients, and that's 34, that's wild. This is a question from one of our clients because they were talking about trusted identities and how can we make sure when we receive things, we know if they've been updated or not, right? So when I click this, the signature is valid. Signing time from this was clocked at this. The authority is the person here. That was, I guess you should name these correctly. And certificate path for them as well. So if you do have a Windows trusted certificate, you can install their certificate from here. So that's more of the Windows versus Bluebeam Windows certificate. So depending on which route you go, if it's Bluebeam and that's all you need, you may need a Windows certificate, and you have that option to install the Windows certificate here as well. But going back full circle, so trusted identities, let's go through and modify this, right? So if we modify this and I hit save, it's going to give you this exclamation. So if we come back full circle to here and here, what does that mean? The signature is valid because it's my ID. It lives on my server, right? If Jason had this, his would be that this one up here, or unknown in the document. This one, yeah, it would be this one, which only makes sense, but I went up for some reason. Going to here, he would see this. Unless I sent him my ID, he would see then this one. And now if I come into here, the great thing that I love about this, and I think you all would maybe feel the same, hopefully, is that you can actually use this click the version older than this too. So it brought open the one prior. So before it was changed, now when it is changed, so it was updated. There is a way for you to certify a document. So I'll close these out so we don't have everything open. So I'll go file, new, same thing, R5 here. And I'll add a signature field. Maybe I just want to certify. So document certification gives them some options. I'm signing it, but I'm certifying it so that they can fill in forms.
They're not going to invalidate things that I've done if they're filling in the form fields only and sign, right? So I'm sending a document to somebody where I've signed it, but they need to fill out forms, the fields, and then sign it after. And I still wanted it to be valid after the fact. That would be the document certification here, or they still also have some markup capabilities and they can sign it too. So there's just some different options here where we'll not make it invalid if I want to give Jason some valid opportunities to make markups and then sign it and send it to me. I don't know when you would use this, but I'm pretty sure someone would know because they're in that situation.
Maybe that's a scenario where, and I've had this come up before with other clients too, where maybe you've got multiple people signing the same document, right? So,
But you could do that here, but what about markups?
right, you're going back and forth, right?
Okay.
Because if you sign it and say, here you go, and then you go mark it up, and then it can be a mess. But obviously, it exists for a reason.
Yeah. This one I get because I want people to sign it or fill in form fields if there are any, which
Right.
is part of that area because it's these signatures, so it probably has to be between the same. So you say, hey, they can still go and sign it, but I am signing and certifying this document. So, and it probably wouldn't be actually me signing it here, right? Just certificate. So I wouldn't come into here and click that. I would just say certify this document. So I would come into here and just certify document. I'm not signing anything. This field isn't being filled out. Jason needs to sign this, but I'm certifying that this is the intent of this document, and I would probably create forms. So I'd go to forms, automatically create form fields. Now, I don't know if it's going to double up my signature or not. There's only one, and that's mine from before. Great, it doesn't. I want Jason to fill everything out for me, but I'm certifying that this is what I want him to fill out. I'm approving this document. Perfect. Okay. Desktop, delete MCR. So now I can send this to him, go back into my signatures and see that this is certified. I'm not going to sign anything yet. I'm going to let Artley go through and sign, but this document's certified for him, and we can right click. It's already saved, so we can go into here and just email this out to Mr. Artley as well. You don't have to click it open, just showing how easy it is to email.
Right.
I guess I should have probably added some contents, but
Hey, something dinged over here.
so now he can go through and fill this out. This document is certified that he is now allowing, or I'm allowing him to go through and mark it up the way he needs to.
Right. Let's see if it'll come on. Open already.
Deleting a signature. So you could go into here, digital IDs. You could come into here and delete this. Yes, I want to delete the one I just created. I'm not going to click it. Well, why not? But you need a password.
Yep. So that ties in with a question that's in the chat. How do you delete a signature if a user forgot their password? Because you notice in all of this, there is no forgot password option. You're going to have to just create a new one. So that's why I forget what version of Revu it was, where it's like, yeah, signature 1, signature 12. I've got a few, which obviously doesn't help with the whole data signature integrity.
Which makes a sense why there's the integrity. Is like you can't.
Yeah.
You have to know your password. Okay.
Indeed.
So this one is in Windows Certificate, and maybe someone smarter than me can explain what the difference is between what Bluebeam offers and the Windows Certificate. So Windows Certificate Store, where it's available on other Windows applications. Is that just because it shares it more efficiently than what Bluebeam does, maybe?
Oh, Jared, coming in clutch here. You have to delete the digital IDs.xml file located in the username app data roaming to allow it to do it.
Okay, so username, this PC,
Yep. And then
I'm working. I'm working.
Windows 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. C, users, U, app data, roaming, Bluebeam software. Revu 21. Okay. And then he's adding, you have to delete that file to remove it from review. The digital ID file, which is a PKS file, also exists that can be deleted there as well. Interesting. Did you have a digital ID? Scroll down. No. Oh yeah, there it is. I saw it. Digital ID. Go up.
Is it the PIE?
There's going to be a
right
PKS
here.
file, and that's the one. Yeah. Nuke that guy.
I don't want to.
Okay. Well, if you wanted to, that might be one way to get around it. Yeah. So both Davids are adding good context here. You can have your local Windows network be a certificate authority. This way, people in your organization see all as trusted. Be pretty solid.
So that's this Windows certificate store, I guess.
I reckon so. Michael, I would like to see that view right about, well, a couple hours from now.
Yeah, I think, is that what this is for then, David? Again, like I was saying earlier, people smarter than me about Windows certificate. Is this because this will then tie into our domain and now Arlie will have access to it? Does he have to be on VPN would be the next question.
To find
and then do I have to be on VPN?
Yes, and yes is what they're saying.
Well, that was, I think, to the beach question.
Oh, Jared, I appreciate you so much. The advantage to adding a Windows cert store is that it's tied to your Windows login. You don't need a separate password. This is not recommended for a shared computer, right? So a conference room computer, library, whatever else. So
I probably would want this.
Yeah. Yeah. I would hope that Jared gets it, David.
A valid email is required.
All right. Yeah, I don't sign stuff other than just goofing off here in MCR, so I don't mess around with this stuff very often.
Oh yeah, so this has everything in here. But how do I go through manage appearance? Okay, and then I can manage my appearance. Okay. So now I can come in here and sign it. Great. But it accidentally did the capital I. And now it's a Windows certificate signing it. Okay. And no login. I didn't have to log in because I logged in to my Windows. That makes sense. So this seems more efficient.
Yes.
But then how do you export that out? So let's go into here. Let's say someone outside of our domain. Do I export this? Yeah, I guess it's the same, but it's just the Windows certificate. Okay.
So same, but
to send this to external. Okay. So what David is saying, have IT issue IDs to everyone in the organization. So all signatures are tied to the single root cert authority. So that internally all signatures can be validated and externally there's one certificate needed to be trusted to validate all signatures for users. So get with your IT team because they know how to deploy a single root certified authority. David, how do I issue a single root authority?
You guys are using confusing words this morning.
Is it in here? I'm not gonna break anything, but let's go. Oh, it's just a search. My IT team may know. I know, but our IT team is external. Have a wild card certificate. Okay, so it really does have. There's no way I can just work through this right now. I'm guessing. Okay. Yeah, everyone's listening to us talk, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like everyone kind of knows. So I didn't know about this Windows certificate thing, but I'm glad you all do since you're probably working in this more frequently. I'm not signing anything anymore, so we'll deviate back onto topic. I just was hoping that I could say, hey, everyone, this is how you do it, but apparently not. IT company has to, squirrels here. So going back, I think the other thing that I like to show is that batch sign and seal. So if I wanted to go through, and yes, you can do this, you're probably going to go, I know. Yes, it's Bluebeam. You can come into here and do all this fun stuff.
What do you mean not for construction? I tell you what's.
It's construction for me. Hey, I designed it, but I didn't engineer it. Okay. So if I wanted to stamp this, you can. It's good to go now, right? So you can come into here and I'll save this out as the middle set. I'll save this to my desktop so it doesn't override that one. And you always wonder, hey, Michael, why is your desktop so dirty? I wonder why. So there is a way, and this is incomplete only. The other way would be if you didn't want to certify via digitally, which you'd have to do every single page with a signature, you could do it by stamping with a signature already on it, right? So this could have been a stamp, your seal, and you wouldn't scale it this way. I just know the Bluebeam's out of the box seal is not to scale. But you would come into here and then you would create a signature field and you would put it here and you'd sign every single page. Or this stamp could host your ID in it, right? So remember that snapshot I took, I could copy paste it into here and then I'm stamping each page and flattening. It doesn't certify the document. People can come in here and cut like I just did before. So there's another way. If you do have complete for you, that those powers that be that went to and took their exams and now are licensed in any professional field that we are in. So i.e. MEP, so mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, plumbing. Do they have one?
Plumbing engineers?
Yeah. What's their certificate? I'll let somebody answer that's in that field.
Says Corey.
Okay. They went through theirs, architects, and then structural engineers, civil engineers. Okay. So when we come into here, you have that option to go through and do a batch sign and seal if you have complete. So if I want to do batch sign and seal this, it's going to say, hey, must be saved. You're done. It's saving this because it's going to be certifying this document. What pages am I adding this information to? I want all. Perfect. Now you have this new pane that populates. Hey, Michael, great, you did all this. Make sure your seal is to scale for whatever page size you have, because when you come into here, you can't scale that stamp. So mine's going to be completely off, not fitting in the area it should. but you have the seal option down below. We'll start from the bottom. I know it's not typical. And we'll go to the seal here, and you can drag this over to here. That's my seal, and I want that to be flattened after 2 and not allow markup recovery. And then you can apply a digital signature here from what you've done or certify, but we want to seal this with my lovely signature. Look at that. And this is when you would use the transparent background, as we all remember. And then you can put a date too, so you don't have to maintain your own date for your signature area, which we're going to put to here down at the bottom. Well, it's because it goes into the drawn by area.
Yep. So there's some discussion in the chat about, RLS and PLS for surveying and professional things, but very state to state, which is something that I wanted to mention. Each state has a different seal size and diameter and different things. So when you're talking about putting your stamp in to scale, it does matter, because sometimes those stamps, if it's the wrong size, that's how those jurisdictionals can see if it's a fraudulent stamp.
Yeah.
Right. Because if it's, a little bit off, they can scale it and go through there. So depending on your state, depending on your jurisdiction, be careful with stamping and signing. There's a disclaimer, right? Because not every jurisdiction will accept it, especially if it's the wrong size, right? Because they may have something on the books from 80 years ago saying, hey, if your stamp is not 2.08 inches, or whatever, it won't be accepted. And that same thing applies whether it was an actual rubber ink stamp or a digital stamp. So be careful when you're doing this. Don't just assume that it will be accepted.
Yeah, don't assume that I'm right here. I said at the beginning, from my experience, make sure when you're creating these, they are accurate, especially if you're the one placing it on behalf of the person, in terms of not the signature, but the seal, because you are assuming responsibility for assisting them, right? I don't know if that's true, but
no one would ever place a stamp under somebody else's
a seal.
That would never, a seal. Yeah, that would never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are placing the seal for someone and then to go and sign it, to then submit it, make sure that you are doing it appropriately, not just throwing things on the PDF, right? So if you're new to the field or new to the profession, please ask, always ask, is this the right one for this scale? And then when they go and sign it after the fact, if you're placing the seal, be aware, okay?
Exactly.
Oh, here's a poll. It launched just at 8:15.
Interesting. All right, guys. We've never tried this poly thing before. So if you could indulge us and see if this works.
Oh, I have to log in a VPN to do it, so I just closed it.
What? That's kind of odd.
Does it work for you all? Submit a response.
Permissions requested.
Oh, you don't even need to. Yeah, if you just look at the chat, it tells you. So like, I'll bring this over to you all. It says it right here. Just type in your response.
Oh, wait. I can't tell what's my screen and your screen.
Yeah, everyone's getting confused right now. But if you look in the chat, you can just type it here and submit. I'll bring you guys back over.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool. Okay. What was that? Cool. All right, back on
topic
with our stamps here.
So I'll
adding
hit okay.
A disclaimer for David put in the chat. Please apply your stamp digitally rather than printing. Stamping physically and then scanning makes your beautifully created digital a crayon sketch, right?
Hmm.
You know what that means? You know what we're talking about there, everybody? So
I like crayons.
I like crayons too. Avoiding a rabbit hole there. In the old, I'll say the old days, but really firms are still doing this today, right? Printing, signing it, stamping it, then scanning it into a PDF. There's no security there. There's zero security there, as you
I haven't
did
seen
earlier.
a stamp in forever.
Yeah, if you'd create a raster of that scan, you did it before. I can go in there with Review and erase that content. I could erase your seal right out of there. I can start messing around with things using Review or other digital tools, print that out again, and hey, your signature's on it, right? So It's kind of a mess. Be
Printing a
careful.
30 by whatever is
Like a 42.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you have your own plotter at your office, which
Mhm.
now you walk by and you're like, wow, good old days.
Right.
It's like walking through out of your house if you live in Arizona and it's just the blow dryer. I feel like it's that effect when you walk through a blast from the past.
Mhm.
But anyways, if you still have it and you do print out, and then you would scan that larger one, but you did like 11 by 17 to scan it and bring it back in. Don't you can do it this way, or there's the other way. At least get some type of digitalness into it, and we'll show you quickly that as well. I'll show you very quickly just the stamp, signing it, or bringing in your image, and then going through that way. But let's continue on with this vein. I'm just going to go to here, hit OK. And this will do it on every page. That's a benefit of this, right? So, and yours is gonna look way better. Sorry, mine was just that JPEG and I should have transparent, but great, I'm done, right? It's on every single page in the same exact spot. And it would be the correct size as we said our disclaimer earlier. That's the batch sign and seal. The other way would be if I close this out and I go back into here. If you want it quick, you can go through and you can, and we'll just place it. I don't want it to go through and delete. We'll just place it somewhere top left. You can go to where you've imported your seal. And if you haven't, you can just go to create stamp, bring in the image of the seal at the scale it's supposed to be at. What I'll do here is I'll go through and edit this existing one. And from here, I'll sign it. Or you can bring in your image here that is transparent. And then you can have that option here. We'll just do save as on this one. And then you can do it this way. Again, you don't get the total security behind it, but at least you're taking a step to the future, right? And there we are. And you wouldn't scale it. You would click. I scaled it intentionally because it's not at a scale that I would approve of. You wouldn't drag it, you'd left click, place it, and then you can go through and say apply to all pages. And then you can flatten your document, right? You can come up here and say edit, document, flatten, and you can say just stamps. So uncheck all and just the stamps. So none of your markups get flattened, but at least the stamp does.
Yep, there are tricks to it. And when Michael placed that stamp, just as a refresher for those who were confused by the to scale part, there's two different ways to place a stamp, and depending on how you click will determine if it accepts its original design scale or if it's a box option. What would you call that?
Yeah, a scaled option. So like, yeah, this one, if I click it, just left clicking on my mouse at scale of what you've created the stamp, right? The other way is to go through here to stamp and left click, hold, and drag. And this is the scale that I want the stamp to be at.
I think that happens quite a lot. That I wouldn't say mistake, just the confusion between the two. So it was a good refresher.
Left click, hold, or you can use the yellow boxes. And if you want to make sure it's correct, I think this whole thing is printed at 1/8, but I guess you can use like a 3/4 scale. I don't know what you would use for this whole page since it's not an 1/8 of an inch in terms of design here, but you can measure, right, too. Right. Perfect. So we have about 9 minutes left. Any questions in this vein or any related topics that you may have questions about?
So let's say you were wanting to put the stamp into a tool chest, right?
Yes.
So you've got that already, you've got your stamp created with your signature and you've got it to a scale. If you brought that into a tool chest, does that remove any of that digital certification or any of the other settings that you did? Is it just a graphic at this point? Is there a difference?
It's just a stamp at that point still, at the scale that you place the stamp. That makes sense?
Right, right.
So it's not the original one. It's the scale that you created it at that moment, right?
Yeah, exactly. So be careful with this. If you are putting stamps in your tool chest, if your organization has your stamp location set to something, you know, a corporate server location where you've got that whole collection of stamps that may be getting updated by somebody at some point, right? If you take one of those stamps and make it your own, it might not get updated with the corporate updates if you have those stamps in a different location.
There's a question about viewport, so I'll go through and do 3/4 scale.
Oh, so Doug's saying use a viewport where
But
you're
these
gonna
aren't,
place your stamp.
yeah, but these aren't drawn to, like these aren't enabled. So let me bring this down into this one.
That's a really good question. So while you're doing this, not to distract you, but now that the tool sets are getting uploaded to the cloud to be used in Bluebeam Cloud, do the custom stamps also get uploaded? Because I know snapshots don't work. I don't
Measurements don't work, is what it is.
At one point,
Snapshots still do.
they do. At
Yeah.
one point, they didn't, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Measurements do not work at the moment because they're trying to add those into cloud. No timeline on that. You could add, well, the thing is like, it's one push.
Mhm.
There's migrate, but you can go into cloud and add it later, I guess, if you wanted to.
Right.
That way you could stamp it from the cloud, but at the cloud point, that's construction phase. So it would have already been approved
Mhm.
by the jurisdiction. So you're not stamping in Bluebeam Cloud. That's that construction administration phase when you're building the project. So they should have been stamped already. And that comes back to full circle of like, well, I need full markup capabilities in the cloud environment when really you're supposed to be more at an RFI phase where you're requesting information on a CA of a project, right?
Correct.
But that brings the same question to the thing. If from a CA perspective, I want to be able to measure.
So yeah, going building on that. Let's say somebody wants everything on the go and is in the cloud. Windows Surface Pro or Microsoft Surface Pro and just run the desktop version, then you have it on the go.
Yeah, but still the same thing
yeah.
I don't like about that is like, you can't, the one thing that another gripe would be like, if I signed into my desktop or Surface Pro, none of my tool sets are there. So that would be where I'd add everything into a studio session. So I have everything at the ready.
It's true. All right, another question that's actually related to our stamp. Thanks for typing this in, David. How do you get the digital signature to be certified and still have it be able to be viewed in Acrobat or some other reader and still be valid? Now, we don't have Acrobat to
No,
test.
because somebody asked me the same question in terms of how do you get an Adobe certification to show up in Bluebeam? And when I Googled it, it was like Adobe certificate requirements from Adobe.
All right, so Jared is saying best way is to purchase your ID from a third-party certificate authority.
Yeah,
right?
not
So
using like Adobe.
yeah, instead of the PK whatever it was or the yeah.
Yeah, we have an internal things for those folks that are new to MCR that you drink every time you say the A word. Yeah, third party. I think that's a great segue there, Jared, because when you Google it and like, hey, how can I see a certified document from the other solutions? It doesn't work because it's a competitor, maybe. I don't know. That's when you would bring a third party certificate authority. Yeah.
Yep. So trust and entrust public cert. Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there. Yeah, David, can't we all just get along? Well, I mean, PDFs do their thing, but yeah.
If you create your own digital signature ID, have to share .csr files. Adobe has its own. Yeah, they have their own. So yeah, maybe the Windows Certificate Store may solve that. So
yeah,
it's a rabbit hole. Jared, appreciate all the Davids adding into this as well. Everyone else adding in questions. This is what this is all about, learning more about the processes that we do on a daily basis. That's why I brought this topic up. I know it was important for a lot of us because this is something we're doing every day, and signatures usually isn't very touched by us here on MCR, but we wanted to bring it. I think we did it once or maybe twice, very low level, just how do you add a signature? But I know the certificates is becoming more and more prominent in how we sign things. So hopefully this was very helpful information, and those that chimed in added more depth than what Jason and I knew, because we're not experts. Right, we're learning this as we go along with you all as well. So hopefully we added some value, and thank you all for you experts joining in the chats, adding value where, you know, Jason and I kind of weren't able to add into. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. And there was that poly chat. If you saw it, if you've got ideas for future topics, put it in there or put it in the chat, or use our LinkedIn channel for that group chat as well. We've got some pretty interesting stuff coming up here in what was I talking about?
In a couple of weeks.
Coming up. There we go. I was looking for it. I was trying to multitask. Next week, I think we're going to be talking about best practices and for transferring and importing your statuses again. So we'll have some fun stuff there. We've got some document comparing stuff. We'll talk about, you know, we're going to push to the basics level and what can an admin do. So there's a whole bunch of different things that we've got coming up here, but we're, as always, we're the community, you know, doing this for you guys and gals and everybody out there who are using Revu every day. If you're ever stuck on a workflow or want to see something different, or, hey, can Revu do this? Like, let us know and we'll play with it as we did today. We're happy to break it down and
just
see,
like
see what happens.
Doug did, you know, he wants to see more advanced. He's more of one of our advanced users in here. So we'll reach out to you, Doug, as you know, to see what you have in mind, because that's some places where Jason and I don't venture into. So we'll be more than happy to have you on and some other folks for measurements and more of that advanced exporting of data. So, you know, if you are wanting more than what we're giving here, feel free to ask. We'll get some folks on to jump in and you all show us some of your workflows.
Exactly. Well, that brings us to the end of our time for our January 16th episode. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Stay safe out there. Again, healing vibes out to our friend in the community who could use some. And we will see you next Tuesday.
See you all then.
Take care.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.